Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Welcome to a special interview from avoiceformen.com. Today we're going to be talking to A Voice for Men's advisor on academic activism, or director rather, of academic activism, who happens to be the first member of A Voice for Men who has established a non-feminist activism and advocacy group for men on a university campus in the United States. His name is Sage Gerard. Would you like to say hello to everybody, Mr. Gerard?
Hello. Appreciate you having me on.
Glad to have you here. Otherwise, Sage is known as Victor Zen on YouTube. I'm sure you have enjoyed some of his videos. If you have not, you should, because they are very entertaining and informational at the same time. But we're not here today to talk about Sage's videos. We're here to talk about something that is considerably more serious. As we saw as far back as November the 16th of 2012, when Warren Farrell attempted to speak on the issues faced by men and boys at the University of Toronto, there was a near riot outside the doors. Doors were blocked, police were assaulted, attendees were harassed and intimidated coming into the conference. They were told that they were rape apologists and incest apologists, people that really knew nothing at all about the men's rights movement, who were just going to attend this lecture to try to find out about issues faced by men and boys. And of course, the usual suspects were out there harassing, pulling fire alarms, doing all manner of interruption. Well, Mr. Gerard has scheduled a sort of conference of his own, going to be happening on the afternoon of November 1st of this year. Present will be Jonathan Taylor from A Voice for Male Students, a very good website. Jonathan is also an extremely articulate and knowledgeable speaker on the issues faced by young men in education. We will also have Dr. Janice Fiamingo there. She has been known for being willing to stand up on Canadian campuses and challenge feminist dogma. Also, Karen Strawn of YouTube and Honey Badger fame, who is one of the most articulate spokespersons in anti-feminism that I've personally ever encountered. And you will also be seeing myself there. I intend to speak about the fraud of rape culture and what is happening on college campuses. You'd think it's simple enough. Okay, we gather a group of speakers and we get together, we schedule an auditorium, everybody gets up and has their say, students get to challenge us, ask questions. This is what's supposed to happen in an institution of higher education, classically liberal education. More or less infers that there is going to be discussion of controversial topics and that there will be an exchange of ideas in a free forum where they can be vetted. But as we saw with Dr. Farrell, with Janice Fiamingo, and others, that is not the case these days. There are many, many ideologues who are invested in silencing anybody who departs from feminist dogma. And the story of Sage Gerard and Kennesaw State University Men's, which is KSUM for short, is one with no exception. We have not covered a great many details about it at avoiceformen.com for reasons that will become obvious as you hear Sage speak today. But Sage, if you will, let's go back to the beginning. And you're setting up this conference and some of the initial reaction to it and some of the events that have happened since then. I may interrupt from time to time to ask for clarification or to ask questions. But if you would please, just in your own words, tell people the story, this bizarre story of what has happened with KSUM and with your efforts to have this conference since its inception.
You bet. Like with many other stories that involve a lot of controversy and drama, this is a very complicated endeavor. KSUM was founded back last year on November 6th, and in essence, A Voice for Men's connection with KSUM was that of a sponsorship. But many people think that A Voice for Men is a formal parent organization when it isn't. And people have taken this assumption to look at the Southern Poverty Law Center's alleged listing of A Voice for Men as a misogynistic site, which, of course, is something that's been refuted and even retracted by Arthur Goldwag, the person who put that allegation out there to begin with. Now, this allegation was something that caught the attention of, if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Tom Penn from the Interdisciplinary Studies Department. He's in, I think it was called the Peace Studies program or something like that, and his conduct was very not consistent with that title.
And he is a member of the faculty at Kennesaw State University, correct?
That is correct. Tom Penn sent an email saying that we were the A Voice for Men club on campus. And he sent that email to a Dr. Liza Davis, who is our first advisor for KSUM. Now, for clarification, a student organization, or that is a certified student organization, which I will abbreviate as CSO, it needs a faculty sponsorship or advisor, same thing, in order to make sure that we can get some services on campus, such as renting out equipment or getting some space for events. So if something were to happen to an advisor, such as if they leave or if somebody bullies them out of the organization, then of course this can be counted as damage to KSUM's institutional presence because that happened to their personnel. So Tom Penn sent this letter to Dr. Davis about KSUM with this A Voice for Men thing and the SPLC allegation, and she freaked out and she wanted out. And it's within her right to make that decision, but I was disappointed to see that she made that decision based on the conjecture that was there. And I provided exculpatory evidence to Dr. Davis, but that did not change the outcome. So we lost an advisor as a result of that. And on top of that, since A Voice for Men has very provocative satire on its site, there have been people who still get uncomfortable with the connection, even though they are morally with KSUM's mission, and even A Voice for Men's mission. There's kind of a culture that seems to say, we love what you're doing, but we don't want to be seen with you, kind of atmosphere. But there have been people who've been really committed to KSUM and stick with it. But of course, there are some people who are nervous. So moving on forward, we got two advisors once Dr. Davis left. And I'm not going to name both of them. I'm just going to name one of them because I'd like to leave the other one who's still with us unnamed for his protection. So there's Dr. Ken Hoganson, the department chair of the computer science department. He heard that the Sentinel, the Kennesaw State University paper, that's the publication, they had they got interested in us, and a Sierra Hubbard, who is a reporter there, wanted to interview me to learn more about KSUM and A Voice for Men. And I told my advisor, Dr. Hoganson, about this, and he said, wait a minute, if somebody's getting interested in you guys to this degree, I don't want to be a part of this, and I don't feel like he said he wanted to be more in the loop about it. And I said, well, you are in the loop, you're being informed about this. And he said, yes, but I'm concerned about what the higher-ups might think about my sponsorship of this organization. So he withdrew. And of course, with the Sentinel, when Sierra contacted me, her interest was based largely on that SPLC allegation as well. She says, we heard that KSUM is affiliated with the hate group. Is that true or not? Let's talk about it. So what this tells me is that SPLC listing allegation was found in the chronology leading up to the loss of two personnel and two members of the personnel in Kennesaw State University men. So we have a pattern, essentially. It's not a huge pattern, but we have two incidences that we can see this has caused damage to this organization based on conjecture alone. So I went ahead and I sat down and I talked to Sierra. She turned out to be a very even-handed, nice person. And Paul, you were even in on that interview briefly during the phone conversation. And Sierra ended up doing a great report on us in the news section of the Sentinel. And I have the paper here with me. We got first page treatment. On the first page it says, KSU Men's Club Fights Feminism. And Sierra wrote a very fair piece and was quoting both you and myself faithfully, with only one slight mistake where she quotes you saying something about fathers being alienated, children being alienated from fathers. They quoted you saying by fathers. That's the only mistake. But it was a very fair article, very nice, very well done. But a few pages later, you can see there's another article called "The Problem with the Men's Rights Movement," written by, excuse me one second while my fingers cooperate with me. It's written by an Ashley Howell, and this one was not fair to KSUM's position, and in fact repeats the SPLC allegation and continues to make the same talking points that we often hear.
Sage, if I might interrupt just for a moment, one thing I want to touch on and just clarify as we go along for anybody that hasn't followed the story. Some couple of years ago, Arthur Goldwag, one who does not work for the SPLC, which most people are not aware of. He's not an SPLC attorney. He does not have employment with the SPLC. He is called on from time to time to write articles for their website. He wrote an article about AVFM and about 20 other websites, even Save Services, menaregood.com, Rush's website, and he talked about the issue of misogyny online and deemed that there was misogyny on these websites, which, depending on how you want to look at it, I do not believe there is misogyny on most of those websites. There is on some. Most of the websites on the list that Goldwag talked about, the ones that he listed in his article, are websites that have no affiliation whatsoever, and some are even philosophically at odds with each other, don't communicate, and don't have much liking for each other. But here's the important fact. The SPLC has what they call an official hate map. It's one that they publish every year. AVFM has never been on that hate map. It has never been listed with the SPLC as a hate group. It has been feminist for years now, ever since Arthur Goldwag's article came out. They love the headline, SPLC names AVFM hate group. Simply not true. You can find this out for yourself. Google SPLC hate map, and $1,000. I'll make it 10 to the first person that comes up with us being listed by the SPLC as a hate group. It is simply a lie. I'd like to just wanted to get that in there first.
Yeah, and what's amazing is that fact is so easily verifiable, yet people continue to repeat the allegation because they strictly want to believe it. There's the Sentinel got a big argument going in the comments section of Sierra's piece, as well as the piece of the editorial by Ashley. And just today, I heard about a new editorial piece published on the Sentinel by a Mike, but the last name escapes me at the moment, where he criticizes KSUM's image. He criticizes the non-feminist image that we openly promote on campus. Now, right. So it's the and in fact, Paul, you have a couple images of the banners that we show on campus. Would you kind of put the one?
Let's start with one. Let's start with your most, I think, inflammatory, kitten endangering image that, and I want to point out too, as I'm sure Sage will reiterate, the entire article by this Mike guy, whoever he is, said he believed, straight out, he believed in the message that both KSUM and AVFM were sending. His problem was a picture, and this is it. We're going to go to this picture, and this is it. You see the flaming fists there. They obviously are intended to express potential violence toward feminists. We're going to beat them with our flaming fists so that their faces will be all charred when they're done. Actually, the fists are flaming because we find that when we handle kittens in advance with flaming hands, that they pre-cook a little bit before we put them on the grill. But everything in this guy's article is geared toward attacking this image. It is not geared toward attacking anything that we do. It is not geared attacking anything toward our message or our mission, but the fact that Sage chose a provocative image to use. Now, I can't imagine any organization, say, for instance, taking a female, the sign for femininity and female, and putting a raised fist in the middle of it. I've never heard of anything like that happening before. But apparently this is threatening. And we just wanted to share that with you guys. Thanks for the patience on playing with the image. How do you? What is your reaction to that, Sage? Your problem is a picture.
Well, if I was not prepared for it, I would be surprised, because it's amazing to me that this guy spent all this time talking about branding, and yet that the idea that KSUM pushes is that you've got to look beyond the brand and look at judging organizations and ideology based on its institutional presence and the actions that it commits. And if you look at the brands alone, then of course you're going to end up with a very biased view of the controversy, because KSUM is stating facts that are not politically fashionable. But feminism, on the other hand, states things that are politically fashionable all the time, and people repeat them simply to get the approval of fellow churchgoers. And this is not a... So if we're going to look at branding, then of course KSUM loses. But that's not what we're about. We're not in this to be liked. We're in this to tell the truth. And if people don't like the truth, that is not KSUM's problem. That is not my problem, as Mike insinuates. It's his problem, and it's the KSU culture problem. And if they don't like that, they can get the hell over it. Now, if I may.
One more thing, if I might inject into this, what I find that the irony in this is so delicious. Mike was writing an article attacking one image is not attacking somebody's branding. Branding is really an entirely different matter. It's about associating a particular image with your brand so that you get brand recognition. There are Coca-Cola and a million other companies use millions of different images that are not a part of their branding. What their branding is their label. But the other thing that is so deliciously ironic about this is that here we have Mike repeating that he agrees with our principles, agrees with our mission, and saying that the branding is the problem, but he's out there giving our mission and our principles publicity. What? Because of the image.
Right. It's fascinating to me. I'll say it's fascinating, and that's my reaction. But stay tuned here, because the drama gets better. Now, during the time that we've been getting press, we've had Creative Loafing Atlanta contact me. They were wanting to get in contact with myself and other KSUM members. We had the Atlanta Journal-Constitution was tweeted by somebody that used to be working for the Sentinel. We had some freelance writer from the Los Angeles Times and the New Republic get in touch, and I'm expecting her to follow up and come to a KSUM meeting. We even had some people, Greg Canning from NCFM, come down and actually attend a meeting with us, and it was wonderful having him. We're getting a lot of attention. That's basically what's going on, and we got PJ media and stuff like that. But what ended up happening was that the Interdisciplinary Studies Department on KSU really started to have a real problem with us. And they started making more and more swipes at me personally as things went on. And this is where things get really ugly. So the Interdisciplinary Studies Department on KSU is found in the Social Science Building, and they're the host of the Gender and Women's Studies program. And just to clarify a common misunderstanding, the Gender Studies program is not a department, it's a program. It's within the Interdisciplinary Studies. So the Interdisciplinary Studies Department has a bunch of staff members that are out to try to remove advisors from KSUM. Tom Penn was one of the people in there, but also I heard that the department chair, I believe it was Robbie Lieberman, she went and contacted our last remaining advisor and tried to discourage him. Pulled him aside and was sharing disagreements with this guy. Thankfully, our advisor he's staying with it, and he understands that advisors don't have to be politically aligned with anything we're doing to be an advisor. He's been very protective of our free speech rights. But I also work myself in the Information Systems Department, and I'm an employee that's working on a web application. Now, my supervisor comes to me on 2 occasions telling me that there's a problem related to my KSUM stuff that's not related to my work. First time, somebody had been spilling a rumor that I've been using departmental resources for KSUM. I have no idea where that came from. They investigated, found it was bullshit, we're okay. Second time, I was told that somebody hired a bodyguard to repel me. Now, thankfully, that turned out to be a rumor. No one hired a bodyguard, and we'll get to that, why that was substantiated in a minute. But I was still astonished, like, who the hell is doing this shit? Why are they taking a swipe at my job? Why are they talking to my bosses? Why are they harassing our advisors? Why won't they stop? And my concern was not that they had an opinion. They could think whatever the hell they want. But they're making deliberate, strategic maneuvers to hurt the institutional presence of an organization they don't like. Now, I got this letter. This is where things start to really come to a head. This letter is a letter sent to me by the legal division from KSU. 2 people, one of which was from the Interdisciplinary Studies Department, the other is anonymous but is listed as a KSU employee. This is a complaint where allegations are made against me of creating a hostile work environment, a hostile environment meant to intimidate and harass women, and that gives the faculty and students a reason to fear for their physical safety and their families. So they're trying everything they can to paint me as a monster. And this letter states, has 2 exhibits in it, and it says that this is to advise me that the university is obliged to investigate these kind of investigations, which is fine. They are obliged to do that. But if you look here, it says right near the end, quote, in light of these hotline complaints, you are also advised to refrain from contact with the complainants, including visiting the Interdisciplinary Studies Department in the Social Science Building, or anyone whom you perceive to be as a complainant. Such contact may be seen as retaliation and could result in additional charges against you, unquote. What do you think of that?
It sounds like a restraining order.
It sounds like one, doesn't it? Now, here on the exhibits, they cited my posting of a Voice for Men stickers on Kennesaw State University. And I made no secrets about my doing this. In March of 2013 of last year, I put some stickers up in bathrooms in Kennesaw State. So I made very sure to come at a time where no one was going to be in these bathrooms. I was cognizant of the privacy of others. And I put the stickers on things that would not be damaging to university property, like toilet paper dispensers and doors and steps on a staircase. Things that would not be, I would avoid posting on top of other posters, avoid posting on top of art exhibits. I wanted to make sure that the stickers would not leave any lasting, it would not be a problem. So I made no secrets about it, and my intent when publishing this video was to encourage other people to go to public universities. You don't want to do this on private property. That's a bad thing to do. But you do it on public universities in a way to get the message out. And if people remove the stickers, that's what custodians do. Now, I published this video online, and for 18 months, nothing happened. The university knew I did it. I publicized it. I made no secrets about it. No disciplinary action was done. They removed the stickers, and life went on. And I never posted stickers since, because now that I'm in KSUM as a public figure, I now hold a title at A Voice for Men and at KSUM. Now I'm obligated to be very, very cognizant of the student code of conduct, by which I followed faithfully all this time. But in these exhibits, one of the complainants is a Scott Ritchie. I believe he's also from the Interdisciplinary Studies Department. And he writes in his complaint, quote, for an unknown period of time, Sage Gerard has been posting stickers in male and female restrooms throughout the university. I did go into one women's restroom after hours to post the stickers. I made sure no one was in there before doing so. So the stickers advertise an organization by the name of A Voice for Men. Sage has posted a video online of him posting the stickers. In the video, Sage wears protective gloves when he enters the restrooms and indicates that he wears the gloves in order to prevent leaving his fingerprints. I did wear gloves, but I also made it very clear I did it.
Wait a minute. Can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah.
You wore gloves to protect your fingerprints?
No. What I was doing, remember when I said I was doing this to encourage other people to do it for public statements.
Right. You did it to make sure your fingerprints weren't left, and then you posted yourself doing it on YouTube.
Yeah. See, it wasn't my identity that I was looking to protect. See, the gloves were there as a way to demonstrate possible strategic maneuvers in a public setting when you're able to post the stickers. So as if other people don't want to leave their fingerprints, this is a way not leave their fingerprints. This is a way to do it. But I didn't care if I got out. Like, I posted the video because I did not care if I was found.
Well, yeah, that's the point I was making. The implication there in the put it in scare quotes, charges against you are that you were doing that to not leave your fingerprints, therefore not to be caught. But then you immediately posted it to YouTube under your name.
Right. I posted it on YouTube because I really wanted it to be out there. And I invited, of course, I've been always stipulated that I will happily comply with any policies or procedures regarding the student code of conduct. But the fact that no disciplinary action has been taken against me for this 18-month period, in spite of that admission, shows to me that this was not damaging. They're stickers. So, now it's Exhibit 2. This is where we start to see many more factual errors regarding these allegations. And this one has a report summary from the anonymous caller listed as a KSU employee. Quote, among other similar offenses by the same individual, a KSU student, Sage Gerard, poses as a custodian and entered the women's bathrooms on campus, placing stickers intended to intimidate women. Unquote. The summary on the next page keeps going. She's saying Sage is the head of KSU men, blah, blah, blah. It says here, it is clear that neither Sage Gerard or KSU men are actually interested in men's issues. Rather, they are interested in insulting, intimidating, and harassing women who they perceive as to be feminist. I fully support the right of this or any group to communicate their message. However, Sage Gerard's behavior indicates contemplation of violence against women. He posts art depicting guns pointed at women's symbols, as well as other violently anti-feminist themes. His behavior has created a hostile work environment for multiple KSU employees, who not only fear intimidation and harassment, but actual physical violence against themselves and their families. KSU students have also expressed real fears for their own physical safety on campus. As a faculty member, I do not feel safe on this campus. As an advocate for women, I feel strongly that I'm at real risk of becoming the target of violent retaliatory actions perpetrated by Sage Gerard and the organization sponsoring him, A Voice for Men. Unquote.
Let me ask you this, Sage. What did you have to say to the campus police and the local police when they investigated this alleged crime and went to talk to you about it?
The campus police don't investigate this. The legal division does.
What about the local police?
The local police never talked to me.
Never police. I mean, you were creating an environment where people felt threatened and needed bodyguards, and not a single law enforcement official came to speak to you?
No law enforcement official came to me. No disciplinary action was taken against me. Now, to be fair, this legal division, the USG is the University System of Georgia. And whenever they get hotline complaints by these, they're legally obligated to investigate them, so the investigation is still ongoing. I don't know what they would need to investigate regarding the sticker, since I put it right out there, hey, I did it, here's me doing it. Now, if they had an issue with that, then by all means they can talk to me about that and get my position on it. But if they're going to be, but these allegations that they packaged along with it, that this creates a hostile work environment, that I'm ready to initiate retaliatory action to attack people, that's unwarranted, and they're not going to be able to substantiate that kind of intent. If they came to KSU men meetings, which they didn't, they would learn that it's actually a really awesome place. There are people who talk about these issues there. All it is it's just not politically fashionable in terms of the topics. We talk about things, we talk about compassion for men and boys. We talk about critiquing feminism in terms of an ideology because it's subject to scrutiny like anything else. Now, these allegations apparently are those that the Dean of Student Success on KSU, Dr. Michael Sansevero, gets all the time. He's experienced many complaints like this, where people send these complaints, load them with emotionally charged language, and then try to get him to do something about it. But you, Paul, you and I were privy to a conversation with the dean, and I think you and I would agree he handled that in a very even-handed manner.
Yes, I do. I do.
He's been, and of course, this entire discussion is not to smear KSU as a whole or its administration. In fact, my thanks go out to everybody who's been able to keep a firm grip on the facts and keep the emotional interpretation out of it. And Dr. Sanseviero has made it clear to me that just because I got this letter does not mean any charges have been filed against me. It just means that they're obligated to make the investigation. And I'm going to be having a discussion with somebody from the legal division soon so they can get my position statement. But I've been keeping all the documentation up to this point, and the complaint, this is one thing we all need to understand here. Think about when this complaint was sent. 18 months after the stickers were posted. I never post any stickers in the meantime. They look at this event 18 months old, and only during the time when they started to have political disagreements does this complaint even surface. So,
let me echo your sentiments exactly in the discussion that I was a part of regarding this whole matter with the legal department, rep of the legal department, and your dean of student affairs, and others in that conversation. I was impressed that at least superficially in the discussion that there was reason, that there was presumption of innocence, that there was what I thought appeared to be a good faith investigation into the matter that took your rights into consideration. I totally agree with that, and I laud those people for doing that. But having watched this thing unfold for some time now, the conclusion that I draw is that nobody gave a damn about the stickers until the conference became an issue, until speakers who were going to challenge feminist ideology were scheduled to come to Kennesaw State University, and then there has been a conspiracy involving faculty at Kennesaw State University to personally destroy Sage Gerard, to have his academic career damaged, to have his personal reputation damaged, all in an effort to shut down any progress whatsoever in bringing the subject of men's issues in a non-ideological, non-feminist lens onto that campus. They simply do not want us to speak, and Sage is the only real target they have, so they're going after them. And this is part of the faculty of this school doing this. It is disgraceful. It is absolutely abhorrent, and people should lose their jobs over this.
I personally, I don't care if what I'm concerned about is making sure that there is accountability. I'm not seeking for anybody to lose their jobs. In fact, what I would encourage is that these people understand the gravity of what they've done, the ramifications of their misconduct, but I still invite them to the conference so long as they are civil and are able to sit there and participate in the discussion as civil people do. In that case, they're welcome. But if they're going to be operating under the pretense that anything they're saying is true, they're going to lose that battle. Now, if they, I have here, these are the emails that I've been collecting and documenting, showing the faculty actually doing this, and I'm going to be working on an AVFM. I have to go through here and Sharpie out the private information, but I'm going to do an article showing the conversations that these people have been having about KSU men that prove that these people were basically conspiring. Now, before I get too far ahead of myself, I want to go ahead and offer a bit of a note of clarification from that legal division letter. Now, some of you may have been curious about the second exhibit saying that I was drawing an image of a gun pointing at a symbol of women. If you go to my Victor Zen blog, it should be at vzen.us, you'll see I do these comics with provocative satire, and one of them has a tragedy and a comedy mask, where it has a symbol of Mars and the symbol of Venus, the men and women symbols, and there's actually a symbol of a gun pointing to each. And it's set up so that the tragedy mask, that there's people who find violence against women tragic, but people find violence against men funny. That symbol is a visual metaphor to cultural perception of violence against sexes. But what she put out there was that I drew a gun of a symbol against women. She left it at that and excluded the rest of the image. You can go to my blog. Go to my blog, check the cartoon for yourself. You'll see she's full of shit. Anyway, what I'm looking through here are right here is the email correspondence. And one thing that I got very lucky about regarding this email correspondence was that one of the legal division followed up with an open records request for emails about KSU men and A Voice for Men. So the reason I sent this open records request was when I handled the Sentinel interview, I talked to Dr. Liza Davis again and asked her if she'd be interested in coming back as an advisor because we handled what I thought was the source of her grievance. At the time, I did not have access to these emails. She ended up telling me verbally that she had reliable sources, in her words, consistent with misrepresentation of KSUM. And I urged her to share those sources with me because I've been battling this misrepresentation for months and I'm getting quite tired of it. And I ended up saying to her, look, if we can't resolve this issue internally, then I'm probably going to need to publicize this. She CC'd the dean on the email and insinuated that I could come off as threatening. And at that point, that's when I filed the open records request, and I said, I got to find what these sources are. So that's where I started to go through the email correspondence that came with this documentation. This is from the open records request. So, and what I'm looking for specifically is an email by a Stacy Keltner, which I believe is from the Gender and Women's Studies department, and they have a Robbie Lieberman here, that same woman that was talking to our current remaining advisor. She was trying to pull Davis aside to get her opinion on KSU men for a meeting. And here's the email by Stacy Keltner. This was sent to gwst@list.kennesaw.edu. That's the mailing list for the entire gender studies program. And it reads, and I quote, our most recent program meeting included further discussion of KSU men / A Voice for Men. Again, we're not the same organization, but they treat it as it is. For those of you who weren't able to attend, the most recent update from the Dean of Students is that the group has retained one faculty advisor, and the conference is still scheduled to proceed. Robbie Lieberman, again, has offered to facilitate further discussions among interested groups / parties. We have scheduled a first meeting for Wednesday, September 3rd at 10 a.m. in this room in the student social science center. As many people have stated again and again, this is not just a GWST program issue or a women's center's problem. They're seeing us as a problem. It concerns a host of individuals, programs, and groups across campus and our communities. Because of that, we'd like to invite all interested parties. If you know of an interested party that may not be on this listserv and who should be invited, please forward their names to me or to Robbie Lieberman, or feel free to go ahead and invite him / her / them. If you cannot make the meeting or know of someone who should be there and cannot, please let me know so that we can talk before and or after the meeting. We'll be sure to vary the second meeting time to make sure we accommodate as many people's schedules in the coming weeks as possible. Also, be on the lookout for an announcement regarding a related upcoming GWST fall event on men, masculinity, and feminism to be scheduled for late October. I look forward to seeing you soon, unquote. They're meeting about us. So they haven't announced it. None of these people have contacted KSUM about any grievances. None of them have talked to me. None of them have talked to our secretary, Stacey Evans. They've just been huddling up, getting opinions, ruminating, and seeing what they can do. Now, I ask you this. Why would they make explicit mention of how many advisors we have and if the conference is still on? If not, because they want to see if they actually stopped it. They got rid of it.
Nope, you didn't.
Nope, and we're still here and we're going to stay here.
And I don't care if I have to come onto the campus with a bullhorn. I'm still going to come there and talk. The time for feminist ideologues, even with this behind the rooms, you know something, you can't get more classic you talk about the stereotypical room full of guys in the back room with dark furniture, smoking cigars, and planning and scheming on things. This is exactly what this email represents. It is a totally corrupt, disingenuous scheme to silence people whom they don't want to talk, and it is not going to work. Sage, we've just got a few minutes because I've got a going mental to do with a short break just after this. Can you tell people just a little bit more about the conference itself, or if there's anything else that you left out that you think is important? But one thing I would like people to know is that there is room for, if you're in the Atlanta area, come to this conference. Certainly it looks like the feminists are going to come there. I know they're making plans on a protest.
Right.
But if you are in the Atlanta area or within driving area of the Atlanta area, you might want to consider this event because this is actually a historical first. I've never heard anywhere before in U.S. history, or at least particularly in the last 50 years, where a campus group is standing up and saying, we're not buying the BS of feminism anymore. We want rational, evidence-based solutions to problems, and we want the issues that are impacting men and boys to be addressed in a way other than saying masculinity has to change.
I would say that this has been an absolutely incredible journey, and I want to also thank A Voice for Men, National Coalition for Men, A Voice for Male Students, and a whole host of other organizations, Honey Badger Brigade, and individuals for making this organization possible, because I could not have done this alone, and that's just the fact of the matter. Now, regarding the conference, again, it'll be Jonathan Taylor, keynote speaker. He'll be covering the breadth of issues affecting men and boys. We got Karen Strawn, Paul Elam, and Janice Fiamengo coming down. We'll have time for breaks and a panel. There will also be a Q&A session after each speech. And again, the conference is 100% free, no catch, because it was already paid for with a fundraiser coming up to this conference. So all you need to do is RSVP. You can RSVP at KSUM.eventbrite.com. That's EVENTBRITE.com. You RSVP, takes a few seconds. All you have to do is get yourself here. Really.
I'll put a link to that in the low bar to this as soon as we're done. At least at some point this evening, there will be a link to ksum.eventbrite.com so that you can go in and put in your RSVP. But if you support men's issues, help us out and show up. Like he said, doesn't cost you a nickel to come, and I think it's going to be a show worth seeing.
And one more note, if I may. If any of you if you are disgusted by the behavior of the Kennesaw faculty and students, go to the Sentinel, the KSU paper, and look at the articles that they're writing about KSU men and see if you are able to get your word in. Because we have a campus that does need very much to know that there's alternative perspectives out there beyond the church by which many students on campus are stuck thinking in terms of. So please, you can come in, you can do everything that you would like to do. Follow this, go to KSU Men's blog. This is going to be exciting. You're going to want to see this. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Sage. I want to leave everybody with a couple of thoughts. One, just a friendly reminder, we are in the middle of a quarterly fundraiser for AVFM. Your support for what we do, I mean, what we just got through talking about is just one thing, and Sage is right. We have not been the primary financiers of KSUM. You have. A lot of organizations have pitched in. We don't own KSUM. We don't tell them what to do. They don't ask us for permission what to do. We do offer support where we can, and we support them in terms of giving them column space at A Voice for Men so the word can get out. That's one small part of the work we do. We just had several months ago the first international conference on men's issues under great fire, under attack left and right. Just to give you one slight hint about the cost that we're incurring, we had to pay over $7,000 in legal fees alone. just to make that conference happen. That's not counting the police protection. That's not counting facility rentals, food, everything else that we go through in order to make these things happen. Please, if you can, help us out. Go to avoiceformen.com, donation button, top right corner. Give $1, $5, $10, whatever you can afford. Every penny of it goes to helping to do things like we're talking about right here today. Because one thing is very important. What Sage Gerard is doing is some of the most important work in the men's movement going on to date. Don't make any mistake about it. Academia is the heart of the beast. It's the belly of it. It is where so many of the lies generate and perpetuate and are spread around as though they're gospel truth. And we desperately need young men and women standing up in the middle of all that battlefield of lies and propaganda, telling the truth. And it takes a lot of courage to do that. We certainly hope you support Sage's effort. Also want to remind everybody in just a few minutes at the top of the hour, I will be back here with Dr. T, and today's topic on Going Mental is what part of being borderlines being crazy and dangerous is it that you don't understand? That ought to be a good show. Unfortunately, it's a necessary one because there are times I know when people have asked me questions along the lines of, well, she slashed the tires on my car twice, tore up my clothes, had sex with my brother, and cleaned out my bank account. Do you think this is a bad relationship?
He's a peace studies professor?
He must be. But we do have guys that have that level of abuse happen in their lives and sit and struggle with whether or not they should leave. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Again, thank you, Sage Gerard, not just for this hangout, for everything that you do behind the scenes and quietly. You're seldom ever getting credit for, but you're doing some incredible work out there. We want to help you do more in the future. Very proud to have you affiliated with AVFM, and one of these days we'll finish twirling our mustache until we own KSUM and we own everything that's going on in every university on campus. No, that's just kidding bullshit. With that, we'll say goodbye to everybody and see you next time. I want to do a lot more interviews with Sage on this subject and others. He's got a lot to say. You guys have a great time. See you later. Bye-bye.